Play action. Bennett looks down the middle. McConkey's wide open. Touchdown, Dogs.
Welcome in, everybody. I am Colin Baschenagel, your host here for this show and this channel with Bash's CFB show. This ran through me, Bash LSN, of course, is the name of the channel, but you can also check out this right here. I always screw this up. This right here that's below my name at Bash_LSN. I'm live on Twitch right now. So if you want to come in, you want to talk about this team, ask a question about the team, and tell me what you think they're going to do, I'll show those on the screen at least for now while we're still small. But you can also check out at the same tag on TikTok. We'll be posting all of these. Also, up here, you see this card right here? Yeah, click on it. Make sure you check out after the video right now. Doesn't matter to me. Check out the rest of the videos I have previewing these teams. I feel like I've been doing a good job with it. So make sure you let me know on what things I can improve on and also what you think of each of the 8 teams that we did prior as we head into our 9th team, the Kansas Jayhawks. Now, talking about the Kansas Jayhawks last year with the 6-7 record, you know, they got off to that hot start. They had that hyped up game against TCU. They beat Houston. They beat West Virginia in that absolute thriller. They end up losing to TCU. They lose to Oklahoma. They lose a handful of games down the stretch to finish 6-6 in the regular season. But they went bowling, and that's a huge improvement for Kansas and Lance Leipold in year 1. So we are talking about this team after their loss in a classic against Arkansas where they came back after being down big, but Arkansas pulled it out. But before we do that, make sure you guys like and subscribe, especially after the fact. If you're saying, hey, this dude kind of knows what he's talking about, or hey, this dude actually makes a good video, then you might want to subscribe and certainly like it. It helps boost the algorithm. I would really appreciate that. So we're going to start by talking about Kansas's players leaving. Now, I didn't mean to change the brand, but good thing is for Kansas, red works. So we're going to start with just 2 key departures. Lonnie Phelps, the edge rusher, is leaving, and also offensive tackle Earl Bostic Jr. is leaving. Now we talk about the transferring out. Quarterback Ethan Vasco, who was the 3rd-string quarterback, going to Coastal Carolina, hopefully to maybe have a depth play there. Kai Thomas, a running back, going to Kent State, who, speaking of depth, struggling with depth after they lost like their entire team to the portal. 2 wide receivers gone. Stephen McBride to Hawaii and Keelan Robinson to ECU. Interior offensive line men Hunter Barlow rounds it up. He's going to Stony Brook. That rounds up the offensive side of it. Now, defensively, again, they didn't lose a ton. Demarian Alexander, an edge rusher, going to Illinois State. 2 linebackers, and Eric Gilliard going to UConn, and Gavin Potter going to Arkansas State. And 2 safeties. Now talking about the secondary, Edwin White going to North Alabama, Jarrett Paul going to App State, and then Cameron Dabney, a cornerback, going to Northern Illinois. Jacob Barcila going to Vanderbilt, their kicker from last year. Now we're going to talk about what's coming into the roster with transfers in. They clearly did not have a huge impact transfer come out. You could have saw a guy like Devin Neal enter the transfer portal, Lawrence Arnold enter the portal. Some of these guys that when this offense was really clicking showed out, they definitely could have transferred and tried to get to a better school. They all stuck around. So more on Kansas's current roster in a second. What they brought in was Dylan McDuffie, a running back from Georgia Tech, 2 offensive tackles, Logan Brown and Spencer Lovell. But I do think Spencer Lovell from California is going to probably play some guard. Now, Logan Brown from Wisconsin, he's definitely going to be a starter. Now on the defensive side, they focused on edge rusher, 3 of them. Austin Booker from Minnesota, Patrick Jordan from Utah State, and Dylan Brooks from Auburn. 2 interior guys, Gage Keys from Minnesota and Devin Phillips from Colorado State, also come in. Linebacker J.B. Brown, probably the 2nd biggest pickup in the transfer portal outside of Logan Brown. J.B. Brown, Bowling Green player, was a starter, really good linebacker for Bowling Green. I do expect for him to get some playing time. And then cornerback Demarius McGee comes in from LSU. 2 kickers, by the way, 2 kickers coming in. Seth Keller from Texas State and Charlie Weinrich from Nebraska. And speaking of Nebraska, last video, check it out. So that basically rounds up what we have for the transfers, and that was pretty quick compared to what we normally do. Not too much impact on either side of it. I do think that we should highlight the guys who came in a little bit more, but we can do that with previewing this roster. So, of course, Jalen Daniels and Jason Bean both came back, but specifically Jalen Daniels coming back is massive for this team. When he played last year, he was really exciting, more dynamic than Jason Bean, though Jason Bean was a better passer, in my opinion. Jalen Daniels is still a good passer, really good, efficient passer. He doesn't turn over the ball, and he has Devin Neal coming back, Daniel Hishaw coming back, and we talked about Dylan McDuffie a little bit in the transfer portal section. I think they got a really, really deep and good running back tandem, and I think Devin Neal coming back, I mean, of course, he was going to come back, but I just mentioned that, hey, he could have transferred. He's a really, really good football player. At wide receiver, Lawrence Arnold, Quentin Skinner, Luke Graham, they're all back. You also got Tanaka Scott, and then you have Kevin Terry and Doug Emilian. Why did I screw that up so bad? There's like a little mark on my monitor. That's why. Emilian coming back. You really have their top, I believe, 6 pass catchers, or 5 of the top 6, or 6 of the top 7, something like that, all back this year. And I feel like this wide receiver group really, is solidified and is going to look really good. Upperclassmen, Quentin Skinner and Lawrence Arnold, Luke Graham, they're going to be that starting 3, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see them. And then having Mason Fairchild back, along with Jared Casey at tight end, that's going to be really, really fun from the skill position perspective to see these guys go at it. Now, this offensive line, have they improved from last year? I think the answer is a resounding yes. Picking up Logan Brown out of the transfer portal, massive for them. Spencer Lovell, like I said, probably going to play some guard because they have Kobe Baines coming back for another year. Their other 2 interior guys to go with Lovell, Mike Nowitzki and Dominic Pooney, are 2 pretty solid, experienced players that have been in the program a couple of years now. So I do think this offensive line is in really, really good shape as long as they stay healthy. And overall, this could be one of, if not the best, offenses in the entire Big 12. Texas is going to raise their hand. Oklahoma is going to raise their hand. Outside of those 2, though, I think Kansas is right in that conversation for 3rd place. For sure. I mean, they're probably my favorite for 3rd place right there. Talking about defense, which definitely needs to improve. They struggled in games like Oklahoma last year, Texas last year. Devin Phillips, Gage Keys, they fill the middle. As we talked about, Colorado State, Minnesota transfers. Hayden Hatcher and Jareem Robinson are both back on the edges. Now, Dylan Brooks looks to get some playing time, as well as Patrick Joyner and Austin Booker, the other Minnesota transfer. But Patrick Joyner, of course, the Utah State transfer, and Dylan Brooks, the Auburn transfer, expect them to make an impact. I really like this linebacker core as well. Craig Young is back for a 5th year in college football, but 2nd year in the program. Hopefully he can take that 2nd year jump for this Lance Leipold system that they have going there. Rich Miller and Taywan Berryhill Jr. are also back, but I highlighted J.B. Brown as a super talented guy. Wouldn't be surprised if he takes snaps away specifically from Taywan Berryhill and Rich Miller, because I don't think he exactly fits the mold of what Craig Young's position does. I think that's more Jason Gilliam, who could potentially take a leap as a younger player and get some more playing time. We have another Kobe Bryant as a cornerback here. He's probably going to start here at that cornerback position, along with Mello Dotson, who was their best cornerback last year. O.J. Burrows and Kenny Logan are also back at the safety position. Jalen Dye, a guy to watch out for. Marvin Grant, another one. And then Demarius McGee, he's a good depth piece at that cornerback position. Talk about kicker, Seth Keller is probably going to be the guy when you're talking about that Texas State transfer. Charlie Weinrich maybe get able to get some run there, but Tabor Allen is back, and Reese Vernon is also back at punter. So it should be interesting to see how this whole entire situation kind of handles itself when it comes to this Kansas team. Breakout players that I'm watching for, I have 3 defensive players. I'm looking at Gage Keys and Dylan Brooks as 2 guys who can absolutely shine, especially if Dylan Brooks gets that rotation. And I'm pretty positive Gage Keys is going to be a starter for this defense and should and would make a little bit of a wreck in the middle of that defense. But also J.B. Brown. Watch out for J.B. Brown this year. He was a really good linebacker at Bowling Green last year, just a little bit under the radar at the Bowling Green Falcons. Now, talking about the over-under win total, 5.5 wins. We'll come back to this for sure. I'm going to even slide it down so I remember to come back to this. But 5.5 wins is what Kansas is listed at. You might see them at 6 with basically even odds. I'm wondering if that's going to jump or not, but we'll just have to see here. So let's go to this schedule prediction, and we are going to start with Missouri State. I think Missouri State's offense could potentially give Kansas's defense a problem if it was last year's offense. I think they lost a lot, including their head coach who made that thing run, and Bobby Petrino lost him to UNLV and then eventually Texas A&M. So I think they have no problem beating Missouri State. Illinois, that's going to be a fun game. It's a Friday night in Lawrence. I think they're going to get up in Lawrence, and I think this offense is going to go crazy. Week 2, early in the season, against an offense in a defense in Illinois that lost a ton. 7 starters out, Ryan Walters out. I think this defense overall will be fine at Illinois, but not week 2 against Kansas. At Nevada, I think Nevada's a little bit of a mess until proven otherwise. Jay Norvell left them high and dry, and they were a disaster last year. One of the worst teams in FBS last year. The BYU Cougars come to town. This is the week before Texas. I think they lose that game. A physical nature of Ken Niumatalolo. Gosh, why was I about to do that? I'm drawing a blank now on his name. Gosh. The BYU coach. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? I freaking know who he is. Oh, Kalani Sitake. I didn't even have to look him up. I don't know. Ken Niumatalolo. Look, don't be mean to me in the comments section, okay? It is way too late. I'm just trying to push this out. It's 11:30. Okay. We're good. All right. But anyway, Kalani Sitake's team, always physical. I think they're coming back from a year last year that was kind of a disappointment. If you remember, Jaron Hall was supposed to be a high draft pick, and they were supposed to have some hype. Watch out for BYU. They're going to be a dangerous team in the Big 12 this year. At Texas, I also think is going to be a loss. They're just a more talented squad than the Kansas Jayhawks. Could this offense give Texas some problems? Yes, but I do believe that Texas, with the depth that they have at wide receiver and the jump that I believe their offensive line is going to make, I think they could potentially push Kansas around, and that might be a wake-up call to the Kansas football team. Now, UCF, I do think they get the win, though I think UCF could be tough, especially the week after a two physical games against BYU and Texas back-to-back. But I think they get back right against UCF, and I think they carry that momentum on to beat Oklahoma State in Stillwater. I don't think Oklahoma State is going to be that bad, though. I think this game could definitely be tough, a one-possession potential game. I almost flipped this, but I don't want to overdo it with home field advantage, but home field advantage is certainly important in this situation. Off the bye, I also think they win their 6th game against Oklahoma. Being off a bye, number 1, sets up well for them because Oklahoma is one of those teams that, when you give more time to prepare for a Brent Venables defense that is not going to be as good as Brent Venables' defenses in the past, it gives Kansas more of an ability to find something to expose here in that extra week. That's number 1. And number 2, I do believe that playing them at home is a massive, massive deal. I remember a couple of years ago in Lance Leipold's first year now, they were able to make make a great game plan at home against Oklahoma and make huge problems for Caleb Williams and that Oklahoma team. I think that Kansas has Oklahoma's number in this game and revenge from last year. I think they go in the Jack Trice and they get their 7th win of the year, and they're going to be ranked at this point, especially if they do end up seeing Illinois and Oklahoma have success this season. I think that at this point, late in the season, Kansas is going to be a top 25 team for sure. At 7-2 in the playoff rankings, I think they're also going to be strong in the Big 12 hunt for the championship game. And I just think that Iowa State's a bad matchup for them, by the way. I do think that Texas Tech or Iowa State matches up bad against Kansas, but I do think Texas Tech has Kansas right where they want to. Now, Texas Tech playing better defense under Joey McGuire, but their offense is going to be throwing that ball around the yard. And if Tyler Shuck is healthy, he showed last year that this Texas Tech team can be very good when he's quarterbacking them. I like Texas Tech to win that game. I do like Kansas to win the Sunflower Showdown, though, here between Kansas and Kansas State. This is going to be a fun one for me to watch here in this week before rivalry week. Why the heck is Kansas State and Kansas not playing on rivalry week? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But regardless, I think this is going to be a really exciting game. I think both teams are really, really good, but I think Kansas has revenge on their mind. They play them at home too, and I think they're going to show up for that game, especially even if they lose to Texas Tech. They're ranked a couple weeks prior. Mark it, okay? They're going to come to that rivalry game. And then at Cincinnati Nippert Stadium, I think they're more talented. Call me crazy, but I have Kansas going 9-3. And I could easily see a path where they can even go like 11-1. The only game I'm very sure that they're probably going to lose is Texas. I'm very certain that they're probably going to lose that game. Now, could they go 6-6 or 7-5? Sure. That 100% can happen. But if we go back to this over-under of 5.5, that's disrespectful to a team that went to 6-7 last year, was probably a tick better than 6-7, and they brought back virtually everybody, and they're out to show you what they can do. So overall, guys, I have the Kansas Jayhawks. That's a lock. That's the lock of the year so far right now. Kansas over 5.5 wins. I have them at 9-3, 6-3 in conference. Is that enough to make a Big 12 championship? Make sure you guys tune into the other predictions to find out for sure how this stuff shakes out. Does Oklahoma bounce back from that loss against Kansas? The answer is yes, because guess what? We already did Oklahoma. You can see what Oklahoma did if you check out that video and see if they're in position to go to the conference championship. So, not my best video. It's, like I said, it's 11:37 Eastern here. So, but hey, I think this Kansas team is really fun, and at least I'm able to push this out to tell you that, hey, this Kansas team, got to watch for them. I think they're going to be really good, really explosive on offense. So with that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like it, subscribe, check out the other videos. Have a good one. We'll see you guys next time.